All right, this time we have a cotangent graph. So the formula for phase shift on this is only going to be C over B. Okay, we don't have that extra part that comes after it because now we have a cotangent graph. Now the period formula is still going to be the same. That's still going to be pi over b, regardless of whether you have tangent or cotangent. So now let's apply the formulas to find the first piece of information here. Your period is going to be pi over b. In this case, it's just pi over the number in front of the x, and so the period is just going to be a pi, because in this problem the b happens to be a 1. For the phase shift, we're doing c over b. We just take the number after the equal sign is your c, so c is positive in this case. It's going to be pi over 2 divided by the number in front of the x, and so it's just going to be pi over 2. We want to also find our half point on these, so half point is what you find whenever you have a tangent or cotangent graph. It's always period divided by 2, so in this case it's going to be pi over 2. Now we're ready to start finding our other key points. The phase shift, the PS, the phase shift is always going to be the first key point that you're going to plot, so it's pi over 2. Then we're just going to keep adding the half point to it until we find the other ones. We have the first, that's our first key point, pi over 2, and half point we're going to add to it. So add pi over 2, and we get pi, but let me write it as 2 pi over 2. That way we can keep the same denominator to make it easier to add the other ones afterwards. 2 pi over 2, we're going to add the half point again. You're always adding pi over 2 as your half point. 3 pi over 2. 3 pi over 2, you're going to add pi over 2 to that, and you get 4 pi over 2. 4 pi over 2 plus pi over 2 gives you 5 pi over 2. And so now those are going to be all of your key points. First one is pi over 2, and then we have all these that follow. We can put those down now on our graph. Here's the starting one, pi over 2. And then we have 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 4 pi over 2, and 5 pi over 2. And then somewhere over here we've got our y-axis. The first one, the middle one, and the last one, those are the ones that get the vertical asymptotes. So the phase shift gets one, the third key point, and the fifth key point. Those always get the vertical asymptotes. Now normally the cotangent graph, regular cotangent will fall and go down that way. However, we have a negative in front, so a negative is going to flip that graph and actually make it look like a tangent graph. Now as far as the stretch that you have, we don't have one. It's going to look the same as the original function. So here at 1 and at negative 1, you can go ahead and plot that. So I know the graph is going to go to this point and this point. Also, it's going to go through halfway point here. It'll be at 1, and then it'll be a 1 down below there at that one. So the graph is going to go like this and like this. Okay, so the shape is going to be the same as the base graph that you have, but we just notice that it's going to look like a tangent graph because you got that negative out front, and the negative is going to basically flip the graph over. So instead of it falling down like that, instead it's going up like this. So this would be your completed graph.